Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Friday, the 3rd day of July. There you go. It's Ben Jones with Batdorf and Bronson Coffee Roasters, hanging out here this morning in my workshop. Something that I don't, for no real good reason, something I don't really do. I don't often use my V60. We've talked a little bit in the past about what the V60 is. Some people, because they do look very similar, they're both sit on top of the mug style drip through pour over manual brew tools. But the V60 is a little more unique, differentiated. The first thing I notice on this is these really aggressive and large channels down the edge on the inside. The B House and other Melita type brewers have they have some ribbing in there, but it's not as steep, not as aggressive. The other thing that we really want to look at, and my V House is still kind of dirty, I need to clean it, so sorry. Your B House drippers, any of your Melita kind of elongated cone brewers are going to have smaller holes. Flow restriction on those. The B House is a 2-hole. There's the Bon Mac, the same type of thing, but only one little hole there on the bottom. So really restricts the flow. Our, the little plastic ones, really great for traveling around or if you think you might drop it. Same thing, one hole in the bottom. The V60 has this super aggressive single hole in the bottom. It really lets a lot of water flow through. We can get some huge flow out of this. Our flow restriction will be dependent more on how we pour and then the size of the grind, of course. I've got nothing against the V60, truly. I've had some amazing cups of coffee. My preference is just toward a little bit different style. So I don't use the V60 often, and I'm sorry that that's kind of, I've now neglected everybody out there in the world. So we're gonna use the V60. Something I really love about Hario product though, is they've taken this beehive design. It's kind of funny because I use B House a lot. But if we flip this V60 over, you can see kind of this wave. We get a little beehive kind of action. And then they have their little decanters, similar little beehive style decanter. Just kind of fun. We do sell the V60s at our website at batdorfcoffee.com. We also sell the V60 filters. The problem is, I just don't have V60 filters. Again, for no good reason. I just never really went V60. What I do have, I have a lot of Chemex filters. And I have a lot of Melita filters. Now these Melita filters, because it has that elongated bottom, it's not going to fit in there very well. If it fits, it leaves too much space down here. Not a really good substitute. But my Chemex papers, same thing. Remember this is just a laboratory grade, kind of like a blotter paper. Real thick, heavy paper. If I open that up, just one side there, that'll fit in nicely. I can make a V60 now. All right. We always want to start, pin our filter down with some water and give it a good rinse. We're rinsing away little bitty loose pieces of paper, the paper fiber. I'm starting to preheat that V60 now. The ceramic, once you get ceramic hot, it's going to really retain some heat, and they're pretty solid for temperature stability. But you do have to invest a little bit of heat energy in warming them. All right, So I use a bit of water to get that out. It's all good. All right, there, I'll put that back on here. My coffee I'm using today is big surprise to anyone who's been watching, Colombia Las Brisas. Really, I'm in love with our Colombian coffees. We have 2 Colombian offerings right now. The Las Brisas, we have in a little more availability. It's a real just lovely coffee, delicate. Has some nice subtle floral tones, herby, chocolatey, nutty. Really holds that classic just kind of coffee profile. The other coffee we have out of Colombia is it's a little special coffee. It's a geisha variety. If you track coffee, the geisha variety, it's a little more special in the same way that, you know, the Fuji apple is a delicious apple. The Brayburn is a great apple. But a lot of people get really crazy about a Honeycrisp. So if I'm allowed the somewhat tortured comparison there, we're going to say that the geisha is the Honeycrisp of the coffee world. Yeah, I'm going to say that. Anyway, that's my drain box. The water draining. It's kind of funny. All right, so I've ground this coffee a little more fine than I would for a Chemex. Not much more, just about 2 clicks down on my grinder. I'm only putting in 19 grams because I'm just going to make my 1 cup for myself for the day. I might have another cup later today. There will be some fireworks going on, so I'm going to be up, you know, indulging that all night. So, also, Hamilton is going to be streaming in our house tonight too. Anyway, all right, so here I come. I'm going to turn on my timer, and we're just going to scoot this closer to you. I'm going to bring this up a little. Creak, 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 creak. There we go. Just trying to get you guys a little bit more of a visual on that. Once I get some water in there, you'll be able to see it better. All right, so I'm just going to put in just a splash of water, just enough to get things nice and wet. This is one of the hazards of doing this by yourself at home, but it's all good. And then I'm just gonna come in there. Because I'm using that V60, I still want to try to avoid the walls pouring straight down the filter, because this is going to flow a lot faster than a Chemex. I'm going to do something where see if I can leave that there. Just want to drop down. What I'm going to do here is I'm doing something where I'm just applying water very slowly, trying to maintain a low water line. With 19 grams of coffee going in, I want my target water dose to be about 323 grams of water used to brew. That's that 1:17 ratio. Just before the water evacuates from the grounds up top, I'm going to come back, I'm going to add a little bit more. Just enough to maintain that low water line. Again, tilting the kettle, I can get a little more control. Got about 100 grams of water left to go. And you can see the high water line right here. I just want to let it drop a little and then bring it back up. For all my friends out there, you all know I do, you know, just kind of how friends will do. I'll throw some shade on the V60, but I'll tell you what, Tommy Kim, Mike Cannon, and my buddy here in Olympia, Ryan Sue, 3 of the best V60 brewers I've ever come across. And if y'all didn't know Mike Cannon, well, if you don't know Mike Cannon, you should know Mike Cannon. He's another fellow AeroPress. He graciously let me beat him in Atlanta in 2016. So thank you, Mike. I'm just over 300 grams now. Then for this last one, I'm just going to go ahead and bring up my final weight. And I'm just going to pull that down. Return this to our little chit-chat angle. Hey, Tia, how are you doing? It's good to see you on the videos. I know you know Mike Cannon. Yeah, Mike Cannon has I think it was his Twitter handle was Super Hario Bros, which is just one of the best ever. Anyway, but we're not here just to talk about Mike. I mean, we could do a whole show on Mike. Mike Cannon, if you're watching, I do have a hat for you. You got to get a hold of me. All right, so this Columbia, real slow brew on this. It's going to really pull out some nice flavors. That Chemex filter. The big difference between the Chemex filters and the Hario filters, the Chemex is just a thicker paper. That thick paper really holds back some of the flow, which allows you to use this really aggressive drip through. It pulls out a lot of the fine particles. It's going to reduce body. It's going to give a lot more flavor clarity in the cup. The Chemex papers are phenomenal for that. And I've mentioned this in the past before. We did a little chit chat about the brown versus white Chemex papers. The white ones, it's what I like to use. They're whitened through an oxygenation process, no chlorine bleaches. A lot of people worry about like chlorines, that's not going on. Then they're hot water sanitized to really kind of flush some things out. So you get a much better rinse out of it without having to do that at home yourself. But my favorite thing about the Chemex papers is they're vacuum sealed now for storage. The folks over at the Chemex factory, they have some original filters from the 40s where part of their quality control is to periodically pull out one of those filters, one of those 80-year-old filters that have been sealed up in vacuum bags, and they compare it to what's coming off the production line. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. This paper it's just a great filter paper. If you're looking for a clean, transparent cup of coffee, the Chemex paper is fantastic. It's one of the better out there in my opinion. The V60, in my opinion, is a competent and capable brewer. It's just not one that I use often. But that means nothing because it's a great brewing tool. I've had some delicious and amazing cups off of it. I make some delicious and amazing cups off of it just for no good reason. I just don't use it very often. Probably the best reason is that I can just, stroll down the street and grab a box of my Melita filters at most any grocery store, and I have an AeroPress that I use frequently. So those are some good reasons, but the V60 is brilliant. The V60 is fantastic. Don't let my tendency to not use it keep you away, which is kind of a nice, I really wanted to do a video on just talking about preferences and how preferences, kind of how they play out. And people are always asking me and asking Badger from Bronson, our Dancing Ghost bars, what's the best? I've never been a good, a good person to have favorites. There's some things I don't like, a lot of things I like, some things I really like. But, even for me, I have a hard time with best. I really like this Columbia, and because we have it for a limited time, I've been drinking it nonstop. So it is a favorite, maybe not the favorite. For me, it's one of our best coffees right now because it matches the preferences that I like for the coffees. A coffee that I don't often take home, and for no good reason, is our, some of our blends. The Capital blend, it is a delicious coffee. It has some darker components to it, so it has some of that rich smoky pungency, a really developed dark sweetness. It's a great coffee. How am I going to say which one's better? I don't know. They're all really good. It's one of the things I love about working with Badger from Bronson is that we do offer a wide range of coffees that match so many preferences. The thing that I have a hard time with is when somebody says, oh, I tried their coffee one time and I didn't like it. Or I tried that brewer one time and I didn't like it. Yeah, cool. We can try to match something else or a new way of doing that to your preferences. Anyway, I'm ranting. This is just it's my soapbox. All right, so we have our coffee now. I do want to show you when you use that low water line. We're only raising it up about 1/2 inch at a time, letting it rise, let it drop, let it rise, let it drop. Never let it dry out completely. Unless you do, and then you like the way it tastes, then keep doing that. But general rules, don't let it dry out. And if you look down there, I'm going to brag a little bit. You could use this bed as a reference point to level a pool table or anything else you want perfectly level. This is a dried Salt Lake bed, flat and level, and that indicates a good even extraction. This smells brilliant. Sweet caramel aromas coming off. It's like a caramel flower. I think I just won the flatbed challenge there to you. All right, I'm just gonna pour some of that in. That's almond caramel blossom. Okay, I'm gonna have to pull up my V60 more often. It's really brilliant. And it's just takes some practice and some doing, some trying. BaddDwarfCoffee.com for all your coffee needs. We still have some fun things going on. Free shipping remains for standard shipping on orders over $30. If you need a V60, we have those on the website. Purchasing one of those brings you in 25% off on a bag of Dancing Goats, which is a really great coffee to start with. Super well-rounded. It's our house blend. We use it for drip, we use it for espresso. It's very versatile, very competent. That's a good cup of coffee. All right, so I might have to revisit my V60 a little more often. I'll have to break down and get myself some filters, I suppose, and do it proper. Got a lot of Hario product. Decanter, I've got a nice Hario French press from back in the day. I really like showing it off because it's just really so fun. Look at that. Isn't that adorable? This little, I don't know, kind of funky late 80s sort of styling on there. And, it's got a brand new filter, never been used. All right. That's all I have for you today. Independence Day weekend. Celebrate the independence, but celebrate also with that independence is a freedom to move forward and to improve. So let's keep improving. Happy to see everybody. All right. Go out, do good, drink good coffee.